that we say here, that the best way to get out of something is to realize you're not in it, is really key. Because if there isn't the realization you're not inherently in it, your whole life will be about getting out of it in a lot of ways. Because the seeming being in it is what seems to be what's causing all the agitation. Yes? So there's a huge imperative to get out of that agitation. It's a never-ending a fire alarm going off. You may not hear it, but there are other aspects of mind that is hearing it. Yeah, and so there's a posture or a position of seeking all the time to get out of something that you're not inherently in. Yeah, in a way that wanting to get out of what you're not inherently in is the act of being in it. The act of really being in self is this incessant drive to get out of self by shopping, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with shopping. It's the meaning the mind gives it. Yeah? The meaning the mind gives to shopping is to try to escape something that it's not in. That shopping will become a form of bondage to it. It'll be like a way of wrapping the chain around yourself. It could be anything. Eating, bondage, sex, not eating, not shopping can be the same thing. Yeah? So the whole system is predicated on a belief of a primary point that may not be true, that you're really in or you really are what you think you are. Yeah? There seems to be no suspicion around that. There's suspicions about the qualities of it. Can I change it? Can I get better? And this and that. But there's not a deep interest or suspicion in maybe I'm not that. Yeah? When that interest and suspicion gets perked up, then something can really shift, because in my sense of it it's true. It's an imaginary problem. Yeah? It's an activity. The activity of being in self. And how we see it in manifestation, that feeling of being in self is reflected in all these ways we try to get out of self. And so you actually can see, if you look this way, instead of looking out, getting out, trying to get ourselves. If you would look that way, the engine of all that moving this way is the belief that you're in self, or that you are something that's really uncomfortable, and all this and all that. Yeah, and that movement, it will just go all these different directions, but it has the same principle. Yeah, to get out of something. Now, if that's something you're wanting to get out of isn't real, that's how you are in that something. Yeah. So trippy. Yeah. So all the movements, all the anxiety, let's get to the next moment. It's got to be better than this moment. And come on, let's move on fast. I got that movie tonight I want to go to. Let's get through all these fucking moments. There's such hurdles to when I get to really have a good time later, or when I go on my vacation, or when I'm out of this relationship, or when I'm in this relationship, whatever it may be, but there's a giant urge. Let's move on. Let's move this wagon train. Let's go. Let's get over Donner's Pass quickly. California's waiting. We'll get there. Yeah. That imperative very rarely is looked at. It's just taken to be like almost a natural wind, a natural movement. Just like some places, all they get is a north wind. They don't get south, east, west winds. Yeah. So you believe that's it. That's the way life goes. But that's not the way. That's just a way life can go. Yeah. It's not the way life goes. It's a way life can go. It's predicated on something. And for me, it's predicated on the feeling of being a self, a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. And you can emphasize every one of those statements, long-lasting, independent, like I'm not affected by my outside situations, really. I'm autonomous. A man is his own island. And then separate, which is really incredible emphasis. The sense of separateness from others, from plants, from air, from space. Yeah, we have more a feeling of being connected with other things, but the no-thingness we feel totally separate from. Yes, we don't even really give it much attention whatsoever. Very few people are sitting out here gazing today and not looking at anything. They're just gazing, sensing the presence of space. Not too many people. They're more concentrated on looking for something that will make them feel better or get an advantage of something that they have to do so everything keeps going, like if they have a family and everything like that. All those agendas. And so their attention and interest is on things. And then what happens, like I was watching my friend the other day, and there was a uncomfortable feeling going on, but how the mind and selfing processes it is it puts it into time. So then the real fear that gets provoked, or the anxiety that gets provoked, is that this feeling is uncomfortable. Yeah? But that's not the meaning that the mind gives it. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Like later, yeah? Is this event that's happening now, is it going to keep going? Yeah? And then, I've had events like this before and they did keep going. Yeah? So there is a very little awareness of the feeling of what's actually happening. The mind just touches it it's like flies on shit. It touches the shit but lifts off quickly. Yeah? And then it tells a story about the shit. So it touches the feeling of uncomfortable, but now what you're dealing with is its reaction, the mental process, which is it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to get worse, and it's never going to get better, and then the extremes come in. It's always going to be like this. It's never going to get better. Yes? And I've seen it happen to me before, and you have some mythical story. Even if it has kernels of truth, you're not really, the thing isn't being grown by those kernels of truth. It's being grown by the mind's meaning that it's giving. Yeah? So what does the mind produce? A sense of anxiety. Or what causes what? The mind to contract even more into what? That mental posture, that yogic mental posture of selfing. Yeah? It contracts even more, and then there's more reliance on what's unreliable. And so more and more your ability to be conscious, your ability to be aware of being conscious. You are conscious, yes. You are conscious, but the ability to be aware of being conscious, yeah? To have a reflection of consciousness instead of a reflection of all the selfing going on. You're actually reflecting consciousness. The mind is reflecting it, like a pool almost, yeah? Instead of reflecting all the agitation of selfing on the surface of the pool, yes? And taking it to be something solid and outside of itself, when the agitation is just the pool, and now it's reflecting emptiness, yeah, which is peace of mind and whatever. Yeah? So that ability to be aware of the consciousness is hijacked in a way, and now you're hyper-aware really about the processing of what's happening. Not what's happening, but the mental processing of it into time, into, it's not like, what does this mean to me right now? It's what is it going to mean, really, basically. That's what occurs, yeah? What it means to you has already been hit. Discomfort at that moment, yeah? But what it's going to mean to me is a giant, it just goes off, and it starts processing that possibility, all the possibilities of what it's going to mean to you. And if your processor is programmed in the negative bent, let's say, or you tend to look at the glass as half empty, then it's going to go process that conscious contact of that uncomfortable feeling and process it into a story that's going to produce what? If you're reading the story, anxiety. While you're reading it, all your attention is in there, in that little porno theater. It's going to produce an anxiety in the audience. The mind that's reflecting that and is taking it to be true is going to be scared. It's going to be contracted, yes? And I just don't mean physically, I mean contracted, yeah? And then it shows itself physically, yeah? And emotionally and everything like that, yes? So every time there's conscious contact, the mental process of selfing claims it, yeah? That's the trick, it claims it. And its flag it puts into everything is, this is me, I'm the thinker, this is about me, yes? And that me is just comprised of lots of fucking meanings, conditionings and everything. It's like a catacomb of mind stuff, yeah? That seems, by your believing, its main premise, it seems to have flesh and blood, with the body identification. It seems to be me. This is how I really feel. It's not how you really feel. Yeah? already experienced or reflected how you feel, the immediate conscious contact. Now it's like the story of you feeling something is now being displayed, like on the ticker tape. This is not going to be good. If this continues, yeah. Instead of taking action, you're almost paralyzed. Instead of saying, "Hey, I don't feel well," go call up the doctor. You just go into your little cocoon, and then it starts processing and expressing all the possibilities that could happen. Yeah. And you live in a form of slavery to that, because your mind, now taken to be a you, yeah, has lost the sense of its reflective ability, and now is at the effect of its own reflective ability. Yeah? It's like in the Course in Miracles, it would say, we're the dreamer. It would say, it does say, paraphrasing it, we're the dreamer of the dream. So let's say, seemingly the dream is being dreamt. So let's say that reflective nature allows you to have a dream. Yeah? The dream's happening, and then you... And what happens is we forgot that we're the dreamer of the dream, and so we give everything we dreamt all the power to affect us. Yes? So what we're sensing to be the way we travel here is really structured. It's made up. Yeah? It's programmed, if you want to say it that. It's like, it's a certain paradigm, but it's not the way. Yeah? And this paradigm, I sense, is rooted in the center of it, which is the idea of being a self. So for me, after seeing in my own experience and other people's experience, the suffering that seems to go with the slavery to this programming, this paradigm, it seemed to me, why try to deal with the effects? Because if you're identified as its center, that would be self trying to get out of self, which is actually being in it. Yeah? That's even the biggest way of being in it, is trying to get out of it as its main product. You know, the feeling of being Paul. When Paul tries to get out of it, every moment I'm trying to get out of it, I'm really feeling like it's Paul. That's the product of the bondage, is the feeling of being Paul. Not if it's in or out of anything, but the feeling that it's Paul getting into something and Paul getting out of something. So I'm walking around as the system trying to get out of the system. Yeah. Pointless. When I saw that, maybe I'm not that center. Maybe I'm not what is assumed to be me. And it's a huge assumption. Don't get beyond that. There's a huge assumption in the mind of what you are. That huge assumption may not be me. It may not be solid. It may be fluid, just like a water running down a stream. Yeah? Could be. Let's check it out. So when I went that way, I saw the possibility that I'm not that. Yeah? And when I saw that possibility, I'm using the word I, but not as me, but I. Yeah? I saw that possibility, then I, yes, and could entertain, it could be free of it. Yes? Because inherently I am not that, which means the possibility of being free of it is available. If I am that, I cannot be free of it. I can be free as it, which isn't really being free. Because if I'm free as it, I'm always going to be bonded again. Yes, it's never going to become a lasting freedom. It'll be a freedom that I had as a me, yeah? Or me had. Yeah? That's not freedom. I found out in my own trucking around. It didn't solidify. And I had many moments and epiphanies of freedom, but it didn't really change the basic adhesion principle that was in effect. Because there would always be a claiming of the freedom, as Paul felt really free. Paul had this incredible experience, so it became a form of the act of bondage, the experience of being free. It's crazy. So when I entertain I'm not that, yes, my mind could go to the next immediate idea, which is, hey, I can be free of that. Yeah? And when I'm free of that, the constraints of the system that I was living from or being directed by, yeah, lost its power. Time, The idea that I've got to spend a lot of time to get out of something that I'm not in seemed totally ludicrous in my mind. Where before, it was a very noble endeavor that I was engaged in for years. It seemed ludicrous in like a nanosecond, in a way. Not bad or good, but ludicrous in its basic drive, which is to get freedom. Yeah? Because it became obvious I can't get freedom. Yeah? And AA gets close to it by saying you have it by giving it away. It sort of dismisses the idea of getting anything because you actually have it by giving it away. It's the verbing of it is how you have it. Yeah? It's the verbing of it, you have it. It's not like in that selfing system, claiming and privatization and ownership is huge. It's like that's how the mind that's identified as self says it's your life because it's claimed it. It's not that it's life, but it claimed it. Yeah. Life is happening, but it claimed it to be happening to you. Yeah. That's not the way it is. Life is happening, but the mind has claimed it to be happening to me. The mind has claimed the processes of this body, this mind body, as he asked me to say, the process of this mind body, one of them thinking as I'm the thinker. Yeah. I'm the feeler. I'm the this, I'm the that. So the main premise of selfing is it doesn't have a life, so it claims a life. Yeah? It doesn't claim a life, it claims life and then makes it a life, and that a life is yours. And then once it's yours, then it has carte blanche to start ripping on it. What does it mean, what happened to me? It's a totally different meaning than what happened. The meaning shifts dramatically from what happened to what's happened to me. Incredibly changed. Totally two different flavors. Like, Ben and Jerry's. It's like buzz, buzz, die, die, or something. It totally changes quickly. Life's happening. A lot of meanings occur. Sometimes they're beautiful. Sometimes it's a drag, whatever it could be. But life's happening to me is the fertile ground for stories. Lots of stories are written. Yes? And so, really, at a point that life isn't even happening to you, it's just a re-happening. It's a rehashing, it's a rethinking, it's a re-feeling. It's sort of like being on a track, a very boring track, yeah? And what happens, all the mind does is change the scenery around the track so it looks like you're on a new race every day. But it's just props, yeah? It's just like different people, different apartments, different jobs, but the same. So everything's being rehashed, refelt, and you believe that if I just got to a point, it would change. That's like the carrot in front of the horse in the race, yeah? That this here is just a vehicle to get to that there. The there inherently is going to be much better than here because it's not here. Because I don't like here, really. So I want a there, yes? But you don't understand that when you arrive at the there, it's a here. And the same application of I don't want to be here either happens, and then another there has to be made. And isn't it amazing how you have a mythical there, you get there, how quickly the mind rationalizes into a here. It's just, it's here, so that's why it's not that there. I've got to get up, get my running shoes, and I'm running after there again, yes? And there seems to be that you believe there's going to be a resting place or an arrival date. When I finally arrive, everything's going to be really fucking good. I can't tell you why I know it, but I do. I know it because it's not good now, so it's really going to be good then. Yeah? This is fucking slavery. This is like entering the hamster cage and getting on the wheel. You know what I mean? It really is. I remember I used to call them 5-year Stalinist plans, yeah? So my mind would give me a big plan of how I was going to be happy. Obviously, it wasn't delivering any happiness now, but it was going to. And I followed a couple of those plans. How many more 5-year Stalinist plans do I need to follow to realize they don't work? The first one told me everything about them all. But I kept doing if 60 of them haven't worked, why would the 80th work? You know what I mean? You have to realize, its working is to keep you in the, moving towards. Yeah, that's why, because not being conscious of here and now, yes, you're incredibly conscious of there and then. You become a total, full-fledged citizen of the mental realm. You're not reacting, you're not responding to life anymore, you're reacting to it. Yeah? There's a reaction to life, which is a story, and you're playing the role. I mean, hook, line, and sinker. You may think that there's an authentic actor, but you become the character. And part of being the character is the feeling that there's an authentic actor in there. That's the fucking character. There's no authentic actor. That's the biggest role we have. I'm going to truly find myself somehow. as if that rises you out of the movie. No, I'm the only character here that really is an actor. No. That feeling of being an actor is part of the characterization of life by mind. So, nothing has to be done to this processing at all. Nothing. All you have to do is see it. Take the invitation which has been delivered. You've been served a spiritual subpoena. Do whatever you do that supports a sort of like at least not a totally insane lifestyle, so that you can get on with things. So all your attention isn't totally absorbed in consequential life, where things are buffeting you all the time and having to be dealt with. You get to a point where you've learned how to live a certain way, yes? And then that point gives you the opportunity to entertain. Entertain some qualities that aren't seen and felt and sensed and tasted and touched, but a quality of like the space around us, yeah? Maybe to be introduced to looking or inquiring into no-thingness, to see in a way to see nothing instead of being addicted to looking for something. All these possibilities are available right where we are. The mind hasn't been crippled by what it's been entertaining. It has, no matter how much an identification is occurring, you never become what you're identified as. For you to identify, you must be something first, yes? There must be, I believe it's no thing, and then the act of being identified. The no thing never becomes. The lady who's crazy and wants to be like Nicole Kidman never becomes Nicole Kidman. No matter how many plastic surgeries, in a sense, in the movie, she never actually succeeds in the act of being identified as Nicole Kidman. Yeah? It's a lousy example, but we are, let's say, no-thingness, and no matter how much the mind wants to identify it as a thing, it never becomes a thing. Yeah? There's no way it can leave its inherent nature and become something extremely, extremely different. Just like self can't be anywhere else other than in the mental process of selfing, because it has no existence. Yeah? It's an activity of appearance. Yeah? It's like a facade, a mirage. Yeah? So that mirage can't leave the mirage-producing machine and appear to be real anywhere else. You're not going anywhere. You're not leaving here. And Michelle. Maybe you are. I could be mistaken, but what information I've had is that there is Paul ends here. The sense of being Paul ends with the demise of the body. And be sure of it, the body's going to end. Even no matter how long-lasting you are, wouldn't long-lastingness, if it was going to come to an end, provoke anxiety to the one who thought it was long-lasting? Because he probably wouldn't think it's long-lasting enough. I want to be a little more longer-lasting. Yes? It's obviously going to produce anxiety. If no matter how long you think you're going to last, you're not going to last for that long. It's going to come to an end. Oh no! Shit, what did I miss? Basically everything, bro. What? What do you mean? Yeah, you had no sense of nothing, you missed everything. What? No. Give me some more time. That's this long-lasting, independent, separate entity. Transfer my consciousness into a robot so I can be robotic Paul. It's like, instead of 50 laps, you make it 150 laps. The race doesn't change. Just slavery to selfie. I got out of self by being in a robot. Now I'm a robotic self. Fuck! Now my concerns are oil and lubrication, tires. How do my tires look? Oh, well, very nice. I'm really looking pretty good as a robot. Got a nice profile. You think anything would inherently change? The mental process would be screaming. We're lucky this place comes to an end. Seriously. I mean, we're like an addict that has too many enablers. So we have to have a finish point where it all is over. Because we just keep on going selfing like crazy. We gotta have, no, fuck it, that's it. You're all gonna die sooner or later. What? Yeah, you'll finally be saved. That's love, man. We won't let you go. We'll let you go crazy, but only in time. It has no influence on timelessness. You can't hurt yourself here. You can be deluded as hell, but it can't become a state. You can't be deluded. You can be deluded as hell, but you can't be deluded. You're not deluded. You're a clear, incredibly wide open, sky-like mind. That nature doesn't get lost. It only gets to be lost if you believe it to be lost. And for you to believe it to be lost, there must be a you to believe it. We don't give a shit about the believing or not believing. We're questioning the you. There's no you that believes it. There's no you that doesn't believe it. And the sense of sky-like nature will just bleed through all the shenanigans that happen. It's inevitable. Yeah. So watch your system of thought. When it has the sense of its being your life, what does it do? It processes everything. What's its basic bottom line in processing everything? Time. Yes? Where does it come with all of its information from a mental realm called the past? Where does it get applied to? To a mental realm called the future. Where is all this activity being attended to right now? What does that attendant to that cause unconsciousness to what's happening? Yeah. How could it not? If all you're attending to and interested in now is the reaction of the mental process to what's happening, then you're not really reflecting the awareness of what's happening. You're reflecting the interpretation of what's happening. Yes? And that sense says it's about me and I'm the one who's thinking these things. And therefore, when you're in that deep feeling of being you and thinking about it, it's already completed its mission, the mental process. It's produced the sense of self. It doesn't give a shit if you swim good upstream or fight a shark in it. It's got you in the pool. Yeah, you're identified. Everything is seen as it's happening to you. Yeah. And that's the way this thing looks at it, but you don't have to have the complete feeling of it. You can see it happening to this, but this isn't me. Somewhat of an immunity to it, and so you start traveling light again. While you're traveling lighter, maybe your attention and interest is drawn more to light, yeah? So all the interest and attention on things starts losing, getting lost, and now you start being interested in intending no thing. And it produces, or its influence here is a sense of presence, you know, a feeling of lightness as you travel through whatever's here, whatever life has in store for us. Nice way to go. Totally able to be relied on, because it's not of time, and it's not based on you. If it's based on you, it's totally based on something incredibly unreliable. Like in AA it says, why do you have so much fear? Isn't it because self-reliance has failed you? So when you're relying on you, you're going to feel the effects of unreliability all day. You're going to be fucking worried. And the mind's going to take that ball and run with it. How can you call it off the field? You're paying its contract. You're the self that's running around, going crazy. And the mind loves that little activity. No matter how much collateral damage is created, no matter how much anxiety and suffering, there's a sense of cherishing that self. You're in love with the failed poet or the drunk writer or the mind loves this stuff. I don't know, this worked for me. I heard it, started entertaining it. Seems to, and it's coming to fruition as a verb. It's not an event. It's constantly coming to fruition. Yes. There's no way you can have it because its whole nature is giving away. You can't have it. It's very difficult to have giving away. You can't grab it like your old way. This is my pants or something. It doesn't work. You have it, but. The mind is very nimble. Yeah? It's gotten lazy and fallen asleep, identified as a thing. Yes? Like dormant. And a lot of times it likes to take the position of victimhood. Yes? You think you have no say in what's happening to you. And it has all these like streams of they're like I was saying, they're like membranes. They're clear. Like looking looks like seeing. Yeah? They're clear. But if you have a membrane around you, yeah, and then you'd still be able to see through it pretty clearly. But if you had another membrane around you, it would start getting a little bit dull, eh? You'd still be seeing, but it would be a little cloudy. Another membrane, it's going to start affecting, yeah? Another membrane. They're all clear, but put together, wrapped around, after a period of time, it's like having like a see-through cloth, like a mummy. Yeah? You can still see, but it's not clear seeing. It's like looking out at the bottom of a Coke bottle, so to speak. It's all distorted. So the seeing is there, but it's been so distorted, it's turned into a form of looking called self-centeredness. Yeah. So the seeing is going through these mental membranes of selfing, and when it goes through them, when the world appears, and now it's looking. It's fueled by seeing, because that's all there is that awareness. But now that seeing is turned into like an interpretive form of looking called self-centeredness. Yeah. And to me, that's what, everyone's trying to recover from something here. I would say that's the initial, distortion. And then some of us in this room, we have a little tweak of that called alcoholism, which is an extreme subdivision of self-centeredness, yeah? The distortion is really strange because everything, instead of being magnified out there, it's magnified here. It magnifies back at this, so we get really self-centered. Yeah, like all our attention goes out there, but it's like looking the other way in a magnification glass. We think we're looking out, but we're looking, and then all of it's back to us. Yeah. So all of our looking just magnifies us all fucking day, and it gets unbearable. So you want to get relief. I mean. My head was really uncomfortable since I was pretty young, because it was thinking about itself all day, and it didn't have any idea what that self was, but it was sure thinking a whole lot about it on a lot of the negative, uncomfortable side. So every time I had contact, the magnification to everything's pertaining to me was fucking unbearable. I wanted to get high. I wanted to get out of that. I didn't realize that getting out of self as a self is being in self. I had no idea that was what was going on, because I was a perfect devotee to drugs. I mean, I'm not a perfect devotee to any spiritual group or guru, but I was a perfect devotee to drugs. I gave up my whole life. I would do anything for it. I was treated miserably by it and kept going back. I gave all the money I ever had to it. All these things that people do to gurus, I already did to cocaine, and it's little, saints and Mahatmas, all the coke dealers and everything. I went to all the pilgrimages, Miami, everywhere. I did the whole routine. I was a true devotee, and if you could transcend this place, that could have done it for me. But I realized you can't transcend an imaginary place. You can't get out of what's not happening. It's impossible. So there is a solution. The solution is the problem isn't really the problem. The problem, I would say, is the act of being identified as what you're not. You can just let that in, see how it cooks, do your little lifestyle of recovery. It's a sound lifestyle. It breeds a clearer way of manifesting you. Yeah? And with that possibility, entertain what's said and then see how it works for you. Yeah. That's what happened. My mind came out of the yogic posture, and I realized that coming out of the yogic posture is the receiving of the invitation. There's no invitation to receive. The invitation is like a catalyst that triggers that thing coming out of that little mental cocoon. And it's that coming out of the mental cocoon, that's the message. Mind opens up to mind, out of my mind, me, comes out of that me, and now there's just a sense of its nature, which is not a thought system circulating around one planet called Paul. It's not. That thought system is just a very small activity of the brain, yes? Any questions today?